All right, diving right in today, we're tackling the South China Sea.
Oh, interesting.
It's heating up,
Yeah.
and we're looking at it specifically from the perspective of the Philippines.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a great documentary to guide us.
Right.
It's from DW Documentary on YouTube.
Okay.
It's called In China's Shadow, the Philippines at the Heart of a Global Conflict.
Catchy title.
It is.
What's it all about?
Well, they interview everyone.
Right.
Filipino fishermen, politicians, activists, international experts.
I see. Trying to get like a
The whole picture.
broad perspective in this.
And what I really liked about it is that it shows the human cost of this conflict.
Something we don't always think about when we're talking about geopolitics.
Right. We get lost in the maps and the lines and
Exactly.
it's more than just territory. It's global trade, it's resources, it's who's going to be the big power in the region.
Exactly. Yeah. The balance of power.
Yeah, so today we're going to try to untangle all of this, right?
Right. I'm ready.
Okay, so
Let's dive in.
let's imagine a huge body of water,
Okay.
bigger than the Mediterranean,
Wow.
teeming with islands and reefs.
That's a lot of islands.
That's the South China Sea,
right.
and China claims most of it.
Most of it, really.
Yeah.
Like how much are we talking?
So much so that it even overlaps with areas that the Philippines considers their own special economic zone.
They're EEs, yeah.
Right, they're EEZ.
And those are important, right?
Yeah, EEZs are crucial.
They give a country special rights to explore and use the resources
Exactly.
within a certain distance of their coast.
Like fishing rights, oil, gas.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and so when you have China coming in and saying like,
This is ours.
yeah, we claim this, and it's overlapping with where the Philippines says, no, this is our zone.
Right.
That creates problems.
Some problems.
Yeah, and this is where the 9-dash line comes in.
Ah, yes, the infamous 9-dash line.
Which, okay, so China has had this line on their maps.
For ages, like since the 1940s.
Yeah, but there's no basis in international law.
Right, it's essentially them saying,
We've always claimed this.
historically, this has been ours.
And to solidify that point even more, in 2016,
Oh, yeah.
the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague
Big court.
said that China's 9-dash line,
It doesn't hold up.
yeah, doesn't hold up.
Legally speaking,
No legal standing. But China's like,
we're good.
thanks for the opinion, but
We'll do our own thing.
yeah.
It makes you wonder what their end game is here.
Right. Is it just about resources?
Could be.
Or is there something bigger going on?
Are they trying to dominate the whole region?
Yeah, so many questions.
Somebody.
We need to zoom in on some specific areas.
Okay, where should we start?
Let's look at the Scarborough Shoal.
All right, I've heard of this place.
This is where we meet Tufonis.
Who's that?
He's a Filipino fisherman who actually testified at The Hague.
Wow, really?
And he still goes out fishing in these contested waters.
Even with all the tension?
Even with all the tension.
That's brave.
And he faces harassment from the Chinese Coast Guard
Oh, wow.
constantly.
So it's not just like a theoretical thing. It's actually happening?
This is real life.
Yeah.
This is happening to people.
Imagine you're just trying to do your job, you're a fisherman.
Right.
You're going out to fish, and suddenly you have these
You're being blocked.
Chinese ships blocking you or chasing you off.
Tu actually said
What do you say?
that the court ruling
Uh-huh.
was just a win on paper.
Oh, wow.
The Chinese Coast Guard is still harassing us.
So even though they won legally, it's not changing anything
Nothing on the ground.
on the water.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just words
right.
on a piece of paper.
And it's not even just about the harassment.
Oh.
China is dredging the seabed.
Dredging.
Yeah, they're building artificial islands.
Like from scratch.
From scratch. And they're putting military bases on them.
No.
Terror strips, missile systems.
That's a big escalation.
It is.
What does that mean for global trade?
Well, trillions of dollars worth of goods pass through the South China Sea.
I had no idea it was that much.
Every year.
Trillions.
If China controls this vital shipping route,
That gives them a lot of power.
it could impact everyone
Everyone.
globally.
Wow.
Think about prices of everyday goods,
Yeah.
businesses.
Supply chains.
Yeah, so it's not just a regional issue.
It's a global issue.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then you add in
What else is there?
the oil and gas.
Right. I forgot about that.
Under the seabed.
So you've got these competing claims over resources. You've got the trade route.
Yeah.
You've got military buildup. It's
It's a mess.
a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, so how is the Philippines dealing with all of this?
Right, because it's like they're caught in the middle
They are.
between these superpowers.
And they've had shifting alliances over the years.
Oh, really? Tell me more about that.
So former President Duterte,
Okay.
he was seen as pretty friendly with China.
Pro-China, some would say.
Yeah, and some argue that actually emboldened China.
I can see that.
But now, under President Marcos Jr.,
Okay.
there's been a shift.
What kind of shift?
They're trying to build stronger ties with the U.S.
Oh, interesting.
and other Western allies.
So it's like a pivot away from China?
Yeah, it's a rebalancing act.
Makes sense.
You know,
They're trying to find their footing.
Yeah. And one of the most visible signs of this shift
Oh, yeah.
is the expansion of joint military drills with the U.S.
You mean like war games?
Yeah, they're called Bellicaton.
What's that mean?
It means shoulder to shoulder.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
It is.
Sends a message.
It does.
Like, hey, we've got backup.
But we're not alone.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not alone in this.
What else are they doing?
Well, they've also expanded this thing called the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement.
What a mouthful.
Yeah, EDCA.
Okay, EDCA, what's that?
This agreement gives the U.S. access to Philippine military bases.
Oh, wow. So they're really stepping up their cooperation.
They are, and under Marcos Jr., they've added 4 more bases.
Or more. Wow.
It's a clear signal.
To China, like, don't mess with us.
Right.
But it's not just about what's happening externally.
No.
There's a whole internal debate
Oh, absolutely.
within the Philippines about how to handle this.
Yeah, it's not a simple, like, pick a side situation.
There are a lot of different perspectives.
There are different voices, different concerns.
But it's not just black and white. There's a lot of gray area.
Yeah, it's complicated.
I bet.
And I think it's important to explore those internal struggles.
To understand the full picture.
Yeah, because the Philippines is in a tough spot,
No doubt.
trying to balance their own interests with these,
External pressures
external pressures.
from both sides.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation for sure.
It is.
Yeah, it's like they're caught between a rock and a hard place.
And, they've got people like Manuel Mamba.
Who's he?
He's the governor of Cagayan province.
Okay.
And he's actually pretty worried about these new U.S. bases
Why is that?
because his province is close to Taiwan.
Ah.
And
wow.
he's worried that if things get worse, his province could become a battleground.
That's a valid concern.
Yeah, he's thinking about the safety of his people
Of course.
and the economic impact, too.
Right, because war is bad for business.
Exactly. So it's not an easy decision.
No, it's a real dilemma.
And then you have student activists.
Okay,
Like
interesting.
Rans, Jules, and Ariel.
What are they saying?
Well, they're critical of both China's actions
Okay.
and the increased U.S. military presence.
So they're not on either side.
They're kind of like, we need a different way.
A third way.
Yeah, a third way.
Interesting.
And they're using platforms like TikTok to get their message out there.
TikTok, huh?
Yeah, they're talking about human rights violations.
Which is a big concern, especially with the Philippines' history with U.S. military involvement.
Right, it's not a perfect track record.
No, not at all.
So it's understandable that they're worried.
Yeah, they're trying to find a solution that works for everyone.
But it's a tough situation
It is.
because they're up against these powerful forces.
It's David versus Goliath.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's interesting.
What?
This conflict with China has kind of brought the Philippines together.
Yeah, there's a sense of national unity.
Like they're all facing this threat together.
It's like a common enemy.
Exactly.
And this Atinito movement,
Let's say.
it's this citizen-led initiative. It means this is ours.
I like that.
It's all about supporting the Filipino fishermen
Okay.
and advocating for the Philippines' rights in the South China Sea.
So it's a way for people to stand up and say,
This is our territory.
we're not backing down.
Exactly. And they're doing things like there was this event
Oh, yeah.
with Senator Risa Hontiveros.
Okay. No.
She's a big opposition figure.
Right.
And she went to this fishing village called Masinloc. Okay.
For an At and Edo event.
So she's supporting the movement.
Yeah. And she stood there in front of all these fishermen.
Who have been harassed by Chinese forces.
Right. And she told them,
What'd she say?
the government is behind you.
Wow, that's a powerful message.
It was.
Like, we're all in this together.
Yeah. And what's really cool is that she actually recognized Tufonis.
The fisherman we were talking about.
Yeah. The one who testified at The Hague.
And she thanked him.
She did. She thanked him for his courage.
That's awesome.
So it's this moment of like,
Solidarity.
yeah, like we're all in this fight together.
It's pretty inspiring.
It is. And this unified front is really important for the Philippines
Why is that?
because it gives them more leverage
Okay.
when they're dealing with China.
I see, like a stronger bargaining position.
Yeah. And then you have things like the proposed maritime zones bill
Oh, yeah? What's that about?
that's trying to formally enforce that tribunal's decision.
So they're actually putting it into law. Yeah, and clarifying the Philippines' maritime boundaries.
That's a bold move.
It is. It's sending a message.
To China. Like,
Yeah.
we're serious.
Yeah, we're not playing around.
But that could provoke them.
It could.
It's a risky move.
It is. But even with all of this,
The unity in the legal rulings.
the situation is still really tense.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
You have Chinese ships constantly around Philippine-claimed islands.
Like they're just lurking,
They are.
waiting for something to happen.
And there's that incident with the water cannons
Oh, I read about that.
where they were used against Filipino sailors.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game.
And then you have the Sierra Madre.
The Sierra
Those-
Madre.
That World War II ship.
Yeah, that they intentionally grounded.
As a symbol of resistance.
Yeah, it's become this, like, icon.
China wants them to remove it.
Oh, yeah, they're not happy about it.
They've been blocking resupply missions, using water cannons, even threatening to tow it away.
It's become a real flashpoint.
The symbol of the whole conflict.
And it's brought us to this really important point.
What's that?
The U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty.
Ah, that's the big one.
President Marcos Jr. has said that he's ready to use it
If what?
if any Filipino serviceman is killed in an attack.
Wow, that's a big statement.
It is. It's basically
I
saying
don't even think about it.
to China.
Yeah. Or else?
So it's a huge risk.
It is.
Yeah.
Because what if China calls their bluff?
Right. What if they do attack?
Then what?
Then we could have a war.
It's a scary thought.
It is. And it's a reminder that this is a really delicate situation.
The Philippines is walking a tightrope
Trying to deter China.
without starting a war.
Yeah. It's a tough balancing act.
It is, and it's not clear how it's all going to play out.
Yeah, it's a high wire act for sure.
It really is.
But one thing the Philippines has been doing well
Oh,
is using media and publicity
Yeah.
to their advantage.
How so?
Yeah.
It's like,
The best defense is a good offense.
yeah. That's
So what are they doing?
You're sharing footage?
Oof. Of these confrontations, like the water cannon incident,
Oh, yeah.
they're inviting journalists on these trips to the islands.
To see it firsthand.
Yeah, and it's working.
It is.
It's getting international attention.
I see. They're getting their story out there.
Yeah, and China doesn't like it
Why not?
because it makes them look bad.
It does.
Especially when you see these videos
Like that one.
with the Chinese Coast Guard ship.
Tailing the tourists and journalists.
It went viral.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And the Sierra Madre.
Oh, yeah, the grounded ship.
It's become this
Media magnet.
every time something happens there.
The whole world is watching.
And the Philippines is smart.
How so?
They're using this attention to highlight China's bullying tactics.
Yeah, it's making China look like the aggressor.
And it's getting people on their side.
I see. It's a smart strategy.
It's like David versus Goliath.
Using media to level the playing field.
Exactly.
But even with all the media attention,
It doesn't change the fact that,
they're outmatched militarily.
yeah, the Philippines is still at a disadvantage.
So what can they do?
Their hope lies in the U.S.
The alliance.
Yeah, at that mutual defense treaty.
But even that's not a guarantee.
You're right, there are no guarantees.
It's a complex situation.
It is. And internally,
Yeah, we can't forget about that.
President Marcos Jr. has inherited this really complex political landscape.
Shaped by Duterte's pro-China stance,
He's got to unify his people.
while dealing with pressure from both sides.
Yeah, it's like walking a tightrope.
And then there's Duterte's daughter,
The vice president.
a potential future president.
What if she brings back that pro-China stance?
It's a possibility.
It adds another layer of uncertainty.
It does.
So the future of the South China Sea,
It's up in the air.
yeah, so many factors at play.
It's overwhelming to think about.
It is, but what are some key takeaways
From all of this,
for our listeners?
I think the South China Sea conflict is a microcosm of what the world is facing today. Rising nationalism,
Yeah.
shifting power dynamics, this erosion of the rules-based order.
That we've all agreed to.
Exactly. And the struggle to find peaceful solutions.
To really complex problems.
Yeah, and we've only scratched the surface.
We've explored the human cost,
the difficult choices.
the global implications.
But there's always more to learn.
So keep researching.
Stay informed,
Talked about it.
because understanding these challenges
Is the first step toward
something solutions,
It's a story that's still being written.
and we're all part of it,
And the choices we make
will shape the future
of the region.
and maybe even the world.
So until next time,
Keep diving deep.
and remember,
Even amidst all this uncertainty,
there's always more to learn.
and discover.
And we'll see you next time.